Okay, well, we're going to not have Bible study the next 2 weeks. So the 23rd and the 30th, we're not going to do it. I'm going to turn out some of these lights on that. With that camera, those lights behind me are really a problem. It makes it's like I've got this huge bright light behind me. So it's very nice that these little sections all will turn off then.
I'll be gone next week anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, is that there would be people that would be on.
I'll be back a week from Saturday, whatever the date is.
That'd be the 29th. After Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 29th would be the Friday?
Yeah, I'm leaving 29th.
Yeah.
I keep thinking it's the 28th, but it's the 29th.
Yeah. Okay. We are in chapter 14, and we ended with verse 5. I know that Christy is not with us tonight. At least they were in Branson. I don't know if they still are or not, but they were. But she has let me know June, I think, predominantly dehydrated, I think is what it is. So, but just kind of let you know, and I'm sure that she'll either be watching this live or she'll be on. She'll watch it recorded. So, because she's actually been very good about keeping up with what's going on here. I'm gonna mute my phone so it doesn't.
Is the cancer back in her neck?
It's a little different place in her neck, I think is what they said. But I think the prognosis is that they can do something similar to what they did the last time, some surgery, and that they'll be able to correct most of it with that. So
hard.
Yeah, she has. So we are in Revelation 14:6 now. 14. My Bible signifies that chapter 14 is sort of an interlude in between different things that are going to happen, because when we hit 15 is when we're going to start. 15 and 16 are the bowls of wrath that are poured out, and so this is sort of an in between that time. And 14 is when we started with the Lamb standing written on their foreheads, and we talked about that's symbolic. I mean, some Christian groups take it literally as 144,000, but a symbolic of a huge number of, and therefore could be all Christians. And we hear a voice that's like waves, or like water, like thunder. The sound of harpists playing on their harps, sing a new song before the throne and the four living creatures and the elders. So that's that's kind of a scene back in that eternal realm. This is not on the earth. This is up in heaven. No one could learn the song except for the 144,000 who had been redeemed. It is these who have not defiled themselves with women, for they are virgins. These follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They have been redeemed from humankind as first fruits of God and the Lamb. So we get that. You kind of start with that, and then now there's going to be now we're going to get to see a series of angels is what's going to begin in section 6. So that's where we're going to start. Then I saw another angel. Now, I don't know, had there been an angel? No, we'd seen beasts before. So it says another angel, but this is kind of the first angel in this grouping. I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven with an eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live, and I have a footnote that, or reside, I guess, on the earth, to every nation and tribe, language, and people. So this angel is flying, and it has a gospel, and we know that gospel in Greek is good news, and so the angel is proclaiming the gospel, which would be Christ, He said in a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea and the springs of water. So this is sort of a, I don't know if this is a last ditch effort to get people to come to Christ and come to know the Lord. But it's very clear that it's proclaiming the same message that the church proclaimed: awe of God, to give God glory, to recognize that judgment is going to come, to worship Him who is the creator of heaven and earth, the sea and the springs of water. So that, sort of it's one of those that this is what you need to be doing. Now we're going to see what happens to those who don't, right? To the other group. Because then we're going to have another angel, a second. So at that point, if this is the second, then that would have been the first. It says, I saw another angel. Yeah, it's kind of strange that he's another angel, which would kind of imply that but I guess there have been a number of angels. So this is he's just another in a long line of angels, But in this case, he's the first in this group, and then this is the second. Okay, so now we have another angel who followed, saying, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." Now, that's one of those where, we're talking Babylon, and Babylon is the land of the beast. I mean, Babylon is the bad actor in all of this. The nation that would be Babylon, or the city that would be Babylon, and for the people that were reading this at John's time, Babylon would very clearly be Rome and the Roman Empire. I mean, that's Babylon, right? But yes, Babylon will fall. I mean, there is a point in time in history when that will happen. Now, it doesn't happen during John's lifetime. I mean, Rome doesn't fall. I'm trying to think of when officially is considered the fall of the Roman Empire. But they were under attack from the Germanic tribes and things, and ultimately will fall. But it's hundreds of years later, so it doesn't happen immediately. But also, if you bring this into, say, a more current age, who would we say who would be? What country is Babylon? What country is the country that makes all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication? America. Sad to say. That's the first. At the same time that we talk about being a Christian nation, at the same time, you could say, I mean, that could be us. I mean, that's not. I don't know.
Those sanctions against the world for various
injustices. Yeah.
So that would make you want to call a drink from the vine.
Yeah, we. And I mean, if you look at a lot of the bad things about the West, I mean, if you think of the sexual immorality and a lot of that stuff comes from us, or maybe you could take Babylon and it could be more than just a country, but it's sort of that whole very, very kind of perverted part of the West that allows and encourages a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff that is bad, the stuff that is evil. I can see, and America is the leader of that. A lot of people will, if you want to point at a place, a lot of people will say New York City. That's could be California.
Actresses and the movie stars going around half clothed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's.
Wonder why they're sexually assaulted.
Well, yeah. So I mean, and especially if you go, when you go into places that are like go in the Middle East, where those countries that are Arab, and we maybe don't. I don't appreciate most of or a lot of what they do, But those that are really conservative, their big reaction is against all of that stuff that happens in the West, and they would definitely see us as the Great Babylon. I mean, that's the way that they would view it. And so, so the idea that that Babylon is gonna fall. I mean, that we are gonna fall. And
Rome fell.
huh?
Rome.
Yeah, Rome fell, and we haven't been around nearly as long as Rome. I mean, in terms of, when you really think about America being a power in the world, we've really only been a power in the world since about 1900. I mean, at the end of World War II, I mean, World War I is when we really sort of stepped up and became a world power. And then through World War II and all. But at that point, it's been about, what, 120 years, 120 years. Not very long. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it would be, about 100 years. Rome was huge. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember how far back you go, but I know that Caesar was in 44 BC, Julius Caesar, and so you go back a little further than that, but then they go for, I mean, they're probably 800 to 1,000 years or something, where they're really strong, and so we haven't been around nearly as long as something like a Rome. So the idea that we're gonna fall, and fall doesn't mean destroy, but fall in terms of power, and who knows, maybe some of these things that we think of as being evil, we figure out a way to get rid of them, or maybe the church, comes alive and is able to really have an influence and get rid of some of these things. I don't know, but in this, Babylon is going to fall, and the sign of, or what is about Babylon, how is she makes all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, which you could say is us. Then another angel, a third, followed them, crying with a loud voice, those who worship the beast and its image. And notice that's important, the beast and its image, right? So it's not just that you worship the beast, it's you worship the image of the beast. And that's the one where they will talk about the idea that some scholars will talk about the idea that this is referring specifically to, say, Nero or one of the other emperors, and that when they talk about worshiping the image, literally they had temples set up with statues of these people that you worship their image, or their images were on coins and you had to use their coins, and so you worship the image. So now we maybe don't do it that way, but who knows what's going to come about. I mean, we live in a world where very much image, not image as in, not image as necessarily a statue or a picture, but image as in media presence and who we think of as that person, but that also is tied up in what they look like and all that kind of stuff. Who knows who the beast is going to be, and receive a mark on their foreheads or on their hands. So that's the whole thing: worshiping the beast or their image, and having the mark either on the forehead or the hand. And in my mind, I think I take those as being symbolic. I don't think it literally. You're not literally going to have a mark on your forehead or a mark on your hand.
Isn't it Amazon or is it Google that started microchipping their employees? Yeah, one of them did.
But you can put a microchip anywhere. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know that it would have to be in it. You know what I'm saying? It could be. I mean, they microchip dogs all the time, and you could put the microchip anywhere. But now they may put them in their hand. Right,
so it
right.
Be logical to be on the hand.
Yeah. So it might mean, they may be doing it. Maybe that's it. Maybe Google is the beast. Maybe Google is the beast.
Well, you have the mark of Google all over.
Yeah. Okay, so the mark, they will also drink the wine of God's wrath, poured unmixed into the cup of his anger. That doesn't sound good. When you have the wine of God's wrath poured unmixed into the cup of his anger. You get his anger and his wrath mixed together, undiluted, and that doesn't sound good, right?
It's gonna be some heavy duty
Yeah,
stuff.
they're going to be, yeah. And they will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So there's going to be all this suffering, right? Fire and sulfur, which is very reminiscent of, say, Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, that's hellfire and brimstone. That's that fire and sulfur. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. You know, and yet in the presence of hell, you know, the holy angels in the presence of the Lamb is right there in that. But maybe part of that is part of the torment of hell is knowing that you didn't have to be there. You know, it's sort of, you know, in I don't remember which gospel it is, but there's the story of the Lazarus, not the Lazarus Jesus raises from the dead, but the old man that's Lazarus that lays by the gate, and the man goes by and all that, and then he dies, and Lazarus, and then the man dies and he's in hell, and he wants Lazarus to bring him a cup of water or whatever, you know. Well, part of that being hell is recognizing, hey, there's people I know up there, you know, they're not in hellfire and brimstone, and so, you know, the presence of angels and the presence of the Lamb at some point is a part of that, of letting people know that. So there's hellfire, brimstone, there's smoke, and the torment is forever. There is no rest day or night for those who worship the beast and its image, for anyone who receives the mark of its name. So that is that never-ending torment, which we would say is hell. So that's sort of, we're seeing hell in this mix. Then verse 12, interesting. I mean, and this sort of tells us what this is about. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and hold fast to the faith of Jesus. Right? So that's what this is. That this little interlude here, where God, you know, where that one angel says, worship God and, you know, give him glory, worship the Creator. But then on the flip side of that, we see people who don't do that are, you know, that Babylon that signifies all that is bad has fallen. You get all of these people that have worshipped the beast, and they're all in torment and in hell. And it's a kind of a word for those who are the saints to endure. That even though you may have bad things happening to you now, because when this is written, the church is undergoing persecution, and it will for 300 years. They'll be persecuted. But it's a call for those saints to endure and to keep, you know, to the commandments of God, hold fast to their faith in Christ, because the bad things you're enduring now are temporary. They're not going to last that long. For those who give up and go over to the other side, it's permanent. You know, it's you don't want to be there, right? You don't want to do that. And I can see that. I can see that that's, you know, that's an important thing, that they want to make sure that you know, part of what John is doing maybe is trying to lift up the saints. And remember, in this case, saints is not St. Peter, St. Paul, those kind of, just anyone that's a follower of Christ. You know, that's the where the word saints, how this word saints is used. It's not a like a Catholic, the way Catholics, well, or even Church of England has. I don't know if you know, John Wesley's a saint. Did you know that? St. John, he's a saint. He and Charles both, in the Church of England. But you know, we as Protestants, we don't do that. But also, you know, saints is not just special people. Saints is everyone that believes. So all believers, it's a call to endure. And I can see that. I can see that would be, you know, something that they would want to hear. And it goes on. This is still to them. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, write this. Now that, so that's kind of an important thing. At the point that the angel's going to tell you, or the voice is going to tell you to write it, because that's kind of what he's doing. There have been times when it said don't write, and he doesn't. And this one is write this. It tells him, write this. Blessed are the dead who from now on die in the Lord. So blessed are those people that die in the Lord from now on. I assume probably also blessed are the ones from before now, but maybe they're already in heaven. But blessed are those who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them. Right? So if you're a follower of Christ, blessed are you if you die from persecution or whatever, or you just die. I mean, you die, you're still blessed. And when you die, you'll get to rest from your labors or from your torment or whatever. And the good, the deeds, I assume that we're thinking good because they're saints, right? They're those who are in Christ. They're good, their deeds will follow them. And so it's a good thing. So, it's a whole idea of hold fast and know that when you die, you're gonna die in the Lord, and you will rest from your labors, and your deeds will follow you. You're going to be in good shape.
So you've avoided the beast.
As long as you avoid, that's the main thing, is you avoid taking the mark of the beast. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Because of course that would be a really, that would be something you don't want to do. You take the mark of the beast, you get eternal torment and sulfur and fire and smoke and torment forever and all of that bad stuff.
I like the way sulfur smells, so I guess I'll have to behave.
Yeah, you want to behave. Yeah, Frank Peretti and others that, in their mind, literally there are devils with claws and all stuff. But there were people in the books that when the person who is the kind of hero that sees more than other people, they smell like sulfur. And I was like, that's sort of a dead giveaway. They're a bad guy when they smell like sulfur, Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, they smell like sulfur. Ooh, okay. I remember always going when I was a student, going into the hall that had science stuff, and when it would smell like sulfur. Yeah, they'd done some kind of experiment. It smelled like sulfur, rotten eggs. Yep. Okay, so then verse 14. Then I looked, and there was a white cloud with a golden crown on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand.
Okay, did yours say like the Son of Man?
Yes.
Mine says like a Son of Man.
Okay.
It's not, that wouldn't be the same thing.
Well, I think it probably would, because it's not saying that it is the Son of Man or a Son of Man, but it's like. So it is, since it's like,
oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? It could be, it's not really the Son of Man. It's what, and I think we'll discover why it's not really the Son of Man just a second. Okay. But whether it's like a Son of Man or the Son of Man, it doesn't matter, since it's like. Yeah, if it was, then it would. If it was a Son of Man versus the Son of Man, then it would make a difference. But because it's like that, it doesn't. I don't think it matters. And that's one of those. That's one to, boy, whether or not that in the original Greek it meant a or the. I have a feeling that's one of those that it's all depending on who interprets it, who's translating, because there is no. I don't think that. It probably, now maybe John, when he wrote it, knew what that was supposed to be, but I don't know, people modern day interpreting, I don't know that they would be able to figure that out. So I don't know. But we get this, it sounds like Jesus, right? He's on a cloud, Son of Man, at least looks like that, golden crown on his head. That sounds a lot like Jesus, sharp sickle in his hand, it's a to be able to harvest and all that. But here's the kicker, the next verse. Another angel came out of the temple, calling with a loud voice to the one who sat on the cloud, use your sickle and reap, For the hour to reap has come, because the harvest of the earth is fully ripe. So the one who sat on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was reaped. Now, the commentator, at least the commentator I was reading, said that that would seem to indicate that it's not Jesus. It's not the Son of Man coming again, because why would he need an angel to tell him to do it? He would just do it. He would know to do it. And so it's not so that, and so I don't, probably not, but, but what it does, what the stuff that I've read says is that this is talking about the idea that before a lot of this, almost this could be talking rapture in symbolic terms, that this angel is coming to reap the church, to take the followers of Christ. That this reaping is not a bad reaping, right? This is there's nothing, this is a harvest, it's ripe, and he swings, and the earth is reaped, so that the crop, the harvest is, where Jesus says, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. It's that kind of reaping, because that's imagery for the kingdom. And so that this is a kind of a very positive reaping. And so it would be Christians that are on the earth, still on the earth. I don't know time wise how this fits in. You guys have what is the time? Let me see your this thing.
Oh.
I was just going to see what this thing says. Does it say anything about?
Mine says grapes, it doesn't say crops.
No, it's that's next. That's the next one. That's the next one.
Oh, am I ahead of myself?
Yeah, you're ahead of yourself. Yeah. Okay, now see this one of these says that the seventh trumpet is the rapture and resurrection. And so this would be like the rapture, the taking of, that's this one like this, says the rapture. And it says, because then after that is Revelation 16 is the bowls of God's wrath. And so, yeah, the one that says the 70 weeks of,
This big long one.
yeah. This other one, this one like this says the remnant saved, chapter 15 and 16, the roles reversed, the 144,000 harvest and vintage, chapter 14, chapter 15, 16, the role reversed. Thou must prophesy again. So, I don't. So how they interpret this, it appears to be, it's hard to say for sure. Okay, but we did get this appears to be a more positive rapture, like good crops, like separating the wheat and the tares. This is the reaping the wheat. Okay, then another angel came out of the temple in heaven. Notice that when we started this, the first angel is simply flying in mid-heaven. The second angel is doing the same thing. The third angel seems to do the same thing. It doesn't say anything else. But then in verse 14 or 15, another angel came out of the temple calling. So that's a different. That the other angels seem to just appear and were flying. This one specifically comes out of the temple, the one in verse 15. And then in verse 17, another angel comes out of the temple. So these are coming from the temple. So they're coming from a little bit different place, it appears. Or we're seeing them earlier, maybe. I don't know. And he too had a sharp sickle. But now this is the angel. The previously it wasn't the angel. It was this thing like the Son of Man that was on this cloud with the golden crown, which could be Jesus. We don't know, right? But This time it is an angel. Another angel comes out and he has a sickle, all right? Comes out of the temple. Then another angel came out from the altar. So this one's even more specific. This time it comes out of the altar. What was under the altar? Do you remember? Wasn't that where the martyrs were under the altar, and they were told they had to just chill out under the altar until it's all done, right? They had to chill out. Well, this isn't it.
Mine doesn't say it comes out of the altar. On 18?
Uh-huh.
Mine doesn't say that.
Does it say anything where he comes from?
No.
It's from the altar.
Mine says altar.
Okay. Yours, yeah. Remember, yours is sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it may live. But I don't know that that's important. I mean, I don't know that that's significant in this case. Okay. But we have, and this angel, the angel who has authority over fire. Right. Now, does yours have that? Okay. So it's an angel, whether he comes from the altar or not, I don't know that it matters. But he comes and he has authority over fire. And he called with a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle. So you got one angel that has authority over fire calling to the other angel that has the sharp sickle. So you kind of
got two with sickles. The first one looked like Jesus, then the second one came and
well, right, but the first one doesn't say he's an angel.
no.
And when the angel comes out, he doesn't have a sickle. He tells the one that looks like the son, or is like the Son of Man, to use his sickle. But this angel, this separate angel comes out, does have a sickle, but then the other one doesn't. But he's the one that has authority over fire. And he calls in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle. Use your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for its grapes are ripe. So the angel swung his sickle over the earth and gathered the vintage of the earth and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. Okay, so at first you think, I mean, if you think about it, you think, oh well, it's ripe grapes. That's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. But the fact that the one angel has authority over fire that should tell us something, right? That this is not good. At the point that the angel that has authority over fire is involved, it's probably not good. But when these vines are harvested, the grapes are harvested, and they're thrown in the great winepress of the wrath of God. That tells this is not good. Grapes in this case are bad. And where do you hear this language in something that we actually use in the church still? He is trampling out the vineyards where the grapes of wrath are stored. Right. See, that's referring to this language right here, is where it comes from. Right? Yeah. Yep. Battle Hymn of the Republic. Yeah. So it appears that the grapes are the evil of some sort. I mean, I don't know that we can be a lot more specific than that, but they are the evil, right? And the wine press was trodden outside the city, and the city, it doesn't specifically say. It doesn't specifically say what the city is at all. Now, let me see. I'm going to look at it. Right. Let me see if this one says what city. That's not too far. Turn back the page.
Would it be a city in Babylon?
No, I don't think that's it. I think it is. Came out of the temple. Sixth angel, treading grapes goes back to judgment. The city outside which the treading of the winepress takes place is presumably the world city, Babylon the Great. So this is outside this. This seems to imply, at least this one, the commentator for this one implies that it's Babylon. So, right. The winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood flowed from the winepress. So that kind of tells you that it's not really grapes, it's people. And as high as a horse's bridle. Blood.
Mine's just 200 miles long and as high as a.
For a distance of about 200 miles.
Mine
Right.
says 180.
Mine says 180.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is about 200.
Yeah, close enough. Right. I don't know that extra 20 miles will, make that much difference. But as high as a horse's bridle, I mean, that's
Man, that's high.
14 hands at least.
how much?
14 hands, so that's
Yeah. So that 6, 8 feet,
4 foot.
4 foot. Okay. So, but it's so lots and lots of blood, right? Lots and lots of bloodshed. So this is, I mean, this is really bad. This appears to sort of be a little mini version of the final judgment. That the first group are the good, and they're reaped, and we don't hear anything bad about them. The first one that are reaped, we know that he says, use the sickle and reap, for the hour to reap has come. The harvest of the earth is fully ripe, and he reaps, and we don't hear anything bad. Presumably, that's the church. That's those that are saved. And then you get this whole other group that are destined for the winepress that is the wrath of God. And they are, and their blood flows 4 feet deep and 200 feet wide, or whatever, however long that is, however that goes. So that's sort of just like a mini. I mean, we don't see the one doing the judging, but sort of you get that mini. See it within the concept of reaping and similar to images Jesus used, of the wheat and the tares and a lot of other things like that. Okay, then we get to chapter 15. And chapter 15 is now we're going to go to the 7 bowls that are the wrath of God, and these to some extent are very similar to the trumpets that were sounded, and these to some extent seem to correlate, only they're more involved, and so it's not clear if they're for sure different or if they're the same kind of thing. Maybe with each trumpet there was a bowl, and we're just now hearing about the bowls, or they may be something completely different. We don't know for sure. Some of them are not, like the first or second. I think maybe the first and second ones don't correlate, but other ones do. Also, these are very similar to the plagues and the situation that happens with Moses and Pharaoh in Egypt. And so there's a lot of that same kind of deliverance kind of imagery, that's involved, and the plagues are somewhat similar. That are going, because this is the bowls are the wrath of God and its plagues. Then I saw another portent in heaven, great and amazing, 7 angels with 7 plagues, which are the last, for with them the wrath of God is ended. So this is going to be the end of the wrath of God, and at that point, I think you're going to get the end of the world. Okay, so we're now at the end, and this is the sort of ending wrath of God. 7 angels, 7 plagues, and the plagues are in bowls. Okay, and I saw what appeared to be a sea of glass mixed with fire. Sea of glass mixed with fire, and those who had conquered the beast and its image and the number of its name, standing beside the sea of glass with harps of God in their hands. Okay? So these are people, these are the ones that deny the beast. I mean, it says conquer, and I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of a battle, and there is a conquering of the beast. I don't know. Let's see. The confessors have denied the beast, refused to adore his image, and don't take the mark, which is the number of his name. Okay, so that's who these people are. That they conquer by not giving in, right? So they're on the sea. They're on the side of the land with the harps of God in their hands, which so you can tell that they're good, right? And they sing the song of Moses, servant or slave of God, and the song of the Lamb. And so you get a comparison here now of Moses, i.e., the one that leads God's people to freedom out of slavery in Egypt, and Christ, the Lamb, who leads all people to eternal freedom. So that you get a comparison there and that's within the Jewish mindset. That's probably that's a good comparison, because for most Jews, Moses is sort of the mythic, great, and glorious Moses. But for the Jews, that would be a big thing. I mean, that's a good thing. And so if it's a song of Moses and the song of the Lamb, obviously to me it's going to be a song about salvation, right? Because that's what kind of how we see them. But here's the song: "Great and amazing are your deeds." I can't sing it. Sorry. Great and amazing are your deeds, Lord God the Almighty. Just and true are your ways, King of the nations. Lord, who will not fear and glorify your name? For you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you, for your judgments have been revealed. Okay, so it's Moses. So it's kind of a song that Moses could have sung, right? About the amazing deeds of God the Almighty, and a song, but also a song of the Lamb that is about God, but we would also say about Christ too. It could be, I mean, we could see this as being Christ, right? King of the nations, King of kings and Lord of lords, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is the song that they are singing on the side of this sea of glass with fire. Now, I wanted to see if this says anything about where this sea is. The glassy sea is mingled with fire because of impending judgment. Is all it says. So we don't know. If you think about Moses, think about Moses and the people of Israel standing on the side of a sea where judgment has taken place, like the Red Sea. It kind of fits in. Okay, so that's sort of this one scene. After this, I looked. So we're back to John. I looked, and the temple of the tent of witness in heaven. So the tent of witness is the tabernacle. That's the original tabernacle that they would have wandered in the desert with. But this is the temple of. So and they actually did roof the temple became the tabernacle. It took the place of the tabernacle. Okay. So he looked, and the temple of the tent of witness in heaven was opened, and out of the temple came 7 angels with the 7 plagues, robed in pure bright linen, which is this is kind of a repeat of verse 1. Verse 1, we already had these 7 angels, but now we see them again. Pure white linen, and there are others that the linen is actually a stone, and the deal is that in Greek, the word for linen and the word for some kind of stone are very similar, and so they're not sure which word it actually is supposed to be. They can't I guess maybe different translations have different ones. But if it, a pure bright, like, to me, linen makes more sense. If you're going to be robed in something, you're not robed in stone. So probably we're going to go with pure bright linen. That's probably why most Bibles would use linen. With golden sashes across their chest. So think Miss America at a toga party, okay? They're, got a pure, you got the toga on with the sash across the chest, golden sash. Then one of the four ones that are on the corners of this platform thing where the throne is and all that, right? And they have different heads and all that kind of stuff. But they give the seven angels 7 golden bowls full of the wrath of God who lives forever and ever. And the temple was filled with the smoke from the glory of God and from his power. So this smoke isn't the sulfur smoke. This is the good, and I think incense, right? Think of that kind of good smoke. And no one could enter the temple until the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were ended. So this is going to be the big, this is the, when you go on the 4th of July and they're shooting the fireworks and you wait for the grand finale, this is the grand finale. We're getting there. You can't go back. You can't go in the temple. The temple's closed until the grand finale happens. And that's these releasing of these 7 bowls. Okay. So basically all of chapter 15 is just setting us up for these bowls. That's all it is, just getting us ready, right? These 7 bowls full of the wrath of God. Then I heard a loud voice from the temple telling the 7 angels, "Go and pour out on the earth the 7 bowls of the wrath of God." So the first angel went and poured his bowl on the earth, and a foul and painful sore came on those who had the mark of the beast and who worshiped its image. So that's the first one. Sores, right? Boils. Isn't that what it would be called in the Old Testament, right? Boils. But think about that. That's the first of the 7 wraths, right? Plagues. Think of it in terms of think of it in relation to Moses and the Exodus and the story in Egypt, right? They poured out the bowls. There is, that's one of, I believe that's one of the ones that's in the plagues in Egypt is boils. But Egypt, right? When we're right at the last plague that God, through Moses, that God's going to pour out in Egypt. What's the last plague?
That's not when the babies die.
Passover. Well, yeah, when all of the firstborn sons of Egypt are going to die, right? Okay. And how is the plague going to know not to go to homes of Hebrews? The lamb's blood, the mark of the lamb's blood on the door, right? On the post and the lintel. Have the mark. This time the plague says, go to the people that have a mark, right? So it sort of binds a couple of the ones from now. It's not death at this point. It's just boils, which makes me remember. Well, what I always remember is the scene from Sister Act, where they go to the guy in the helicopter. They need the helicopter to get to whatever, praying for him, and the one is with boils is not something you really want, right? Who worship the image of the beast are going to be marked with boils, right? That's the first of the, and that's not a huge wrathful kind of thing. That's a pretty mild wrathful kind of thing.
Not if you have them.
Well, you're right, but and probably at that point, everyone. See, if as the, like, if we go back and we look at these harvesting, if the harvest of the good grain has already happened, and this is what's going to kind of come between them. There's going to be the wrath of God poured out, and then all of the grapes are going to be then that's going to happen. Well, then that means that the only people really that are left around are the people that are worshiping the beast. But I can't say that for sure because we don't know that how that timing works really well. We're not real clear on. So, but so they have, yeah, but yes, obviously it would be bad if you had it. Okay. The second angel poured his bowl into the sea, and it became like the blood of a corpse, and every living thing in the sea died. And that's very much Egypt, right? The Nile turns to blood, right? Now, I don't know that he talked about everything in the Nile dying, but and this is sort of that red tide we talked about, right? That kind of stuff actually does exist. Now, whether that's what this is talking about, because it doesn't say it becomes blood, it became like blood. And interestingly enough, it's not just like blood, but like the blood of a corpse. That's even nastier, I guess. I don't know. But everything in the sea is going to die. And at the point that you've got the sea dying and you have everything in the sea dead, floating and rotting, I mean, you can imagine if you've ever been places where there are fish kills, and the fish are just lying there rotting. I mean, it's nasty. Yeah, it smells horrible, right? So a very nasty thing. Very nasty thing.
Well, it also takes away their food.
Yeah, that'd be true.
Because they subsisted on fish.
Fish was a big thing, right, for them. Right. The third angel poured his bowl into the rivers and the springs of water, and they became blood. And at that point, then they become not drinkable.
Now they don't have any water.
Right.
Now they don't have any food.
Right.
They got boils. This is pretty miserable.
Yes, it is. And it's only going to get worse. Okay. It's only going to get worse and worse. For you have judged the. It is what they deserve. Blood, and here's why you have blood, right? God is just in this, and you judge these things, and because these people shed the blood of the saints and the prophets, they get blood to drink, and they deserve it. And I heard the altar respond. I'm not sure how an altar responds. The voice comes from the altar, right? Yes, O Lord God, the Almighty, your judgments are true and just. And this is where I think, remember that there are people, the martyrs are supposedly under the altar. So that may be whose voice. And that's, I mean, they're the ones that this is about them being killed. So they're the ones saying, yes, O Lord God, the Almighty, your judgments are true and just. You're now getting vengeance for our death. So, I mean, to me, that would appear logical. That's who's saying that. Okay, let's do the fourth bowl and then we'll quit. The fourth angel poured his bowl on the sun, and it was allowed to scorch them with fire. They were scorched by the fierce heat, but they cursed the name of God who had authority over these plagues, and they did not repent and give him glory. Okay, so it's like this angel goes and turns up the dial on the sun, and the sun gets even hotter than it normally is. Now, folks, this stuff with climate change, I know a lot of people, the ozone and all that stuff in it, and you're not blocking out the rays of the sun, and this kind of thing happens, So, but interestingly enough, even with all of this, now, think about this. Boils have fallen, all turned to blood. And now the sun is amped up. It's, that much hotter, and it's scorching. I mean, people can't even go outside probably but their response is that the people curse the name of God who has authority over these plagues, and they don't repent and give him glory. They're gonna, they're not gonna, and in a way, I guess what that reminds us is that there are gonna be people that no matter what we do, they're not going to they're never going to come to Christ. That, I mean, you know, that these people, they've lived through everything else that's happened, including the rapture or the taking of this other, you know, of the good. They've lived through all of this. Now they've lived through all these plagues, and yet still they don't see that their actions are causing these things, and they don't repent. And so, you know, the idea that for us that there are going to be people that don't come to Christ, you know, we shouldn't be surprised. You know, it's going to happen that there are people that are not going to repent. There are going to be people that are going to suffer from these plagues.
Are these Jews or Gentiles or both?
Everyone. I think this is
Everybody.
all. Yeah, I think this is throughout the world. Yeah, throughout the world. Okay, I'm going to shut us off on the live stream. Someone was watching and no, somebody put something on